King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right, folks, man, AGD, another great day. Welcome yet again to not just another, hold on, let's say this right. Not just another episode, but welcome to another season of Building with Big King, helping me to build a worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Man. True indeed. All right. So, folks, as I just stated, we are kicking off the third season of the podcast Building with Big King, right? Uh, thank whoever that is. Thank you. Chime on in. There's more to come. Let's continue to this. Man, we started such a magnificent forum. The first two seasons, right? And I am super excited to kick this third season off, right? Built with Big King. Folks, just as a reminder, we talk about the myriad of issues surrounding this paradigm shift and how they specifically affect us, our families, and our future, right? We spread awareness, and we use the spreading of awareness to organize ourselves into a responsible response and mature, compassionate action moving forward. Action, folks, right? Responsible action moving forward to ensure that we instill, that we cement in a new paradigm, not a paradigm continued in the misery, pain, and hate that we've seen in the old paradigm established by the agenda of the socially economic elite. No, but a new paradigm that we cement in, a new paradigm that we establish rooted in the founding principles of peace, love, respect. That's what we're doing right here, folks. Thank you all for joining me on another episode, Building with Big King. All right. In this episode, we're going to kind of launch things off. Not just launch the third season, but we're going to give a little bit of a layout, right? And be a little bit more organized in how we're approaching this thing. In fact, I do have an opening statement that I need to read for you all to touch this third season off and this first episode in the third season of Building with Big King. All right. Real quick, folks. There's a reason why we see the elites now becoming so bold and radical with attempting to apply their dystopian agenda to the paradigm. They're being this radical because they are that desperate. Huh? That desperation is born out of fear. They emphatically fear the masses of this planet embarking on a mass awakening process. Huh? Though hard to focus on amid the drama and fear produced by the efforts to carry out the agenda of the cabal of these socially economic elites, these globalists, these depopulationists, right? Though difficult to focus on and often eschewed by many because of that, it is difficult to see. But this process, believe, folks, know, when you do the free thinking research to uncover it, you see it. This process is well underway. Huh? Past the point of them just snuffing it out and stopping it. Folks, they have been so desperate to prevent this mass awakening, they have attempted to shift and alter the very timelines. Do you hear what I'm telling you? About the experiments that have gone on in Philadelphia, about the agenda that has been laid out nefariously throughout the entire parallel extended that encompasses both of the gateway cities of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. What do they term, what have they nicknamed Pennsylvania? The Keystone State. The Keystone. Keep that in mind. So again, this process is well underway and has been for years. Now, at this point, know that we have awakened enough to cause their sheer panic. Sheer panic at the thought that we have passed the precipice. See, let me explain now. Now, that was the statement. I'm going to explain a little bit about what I mean before I open this up, because I got to hear what y'all got to say. I love it. Understand that unfortunately, the things that we have been becoming aware of, learning about, and are so shocked by in many instances are not new. We're not learning of new changes to the planet. We're learning of something dark, malevolent, and downright evil, if you want to put it in those terms. I less and less in my life at this stage do I look at things in the frame of good and evil, because I know that is a subjective concept in itself, right? But I do understand what has happened on this planet, right? I like to often borrow from the phrase that Dr. Spock from the Star Trek series. Many of you are Trekkies. I ain't got to worry about that. I know you are. Many of you may not be, but still you're familiar with Star Trek and Dr. Spock, I'm certain. And he is famous for saying the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. But we've been living in a paradigm for a long time where the needs, the efforts, the energy, the life force, everything, our intention, our consent, our intent, everything that the masses has gone toward meeting the needs of the few. So we've been living backwards on this planet. Think about that for a minute. And that's just sheerly based on logic, nothing else. It is logical that the needs of the many would outweigh the needs of the few or the one. But we instead have been working our tails off, the entire planet to satisfy the needs of the few. We've been living bass backwards, as they say. At least that's how they used to say back in my day. It's time to change all of this, folks. We're changing it all. Now, we need to understand a few things. I'm going to start with reminding you about something that I hope you were familiar with. And if not, I hope you pay attention and learn about. But there's something called the Georgia Guidestones, folks. They no longer exist. They were blown up. But the Georgia Guidestones were huge monolithic granite tablets. You know how expensive granite is, right? Okay. Huge monolithic granite tablets, the size comparable to Stonehenge, right? That were erected in Georgia. I forget the name of the exact, the town. It was somewhere, I believe, close to Marietta, Georgia. But anyway, these stone tablets were erected and stood for over 40 years. And without getting into a whole podcast that could be consumed talking about these tablets, we know through discovery through independent research that the socially economic elite cabal of globalist depopulationists erected this tablet, right? Or had their representatives erect this tablet. I could give you the specifics. We already know exactly who the financier was and all of that. This is I'm not breaking news on on the Georgia Guidestones. We already know about that. What I want to focus on is on the lead message of the lead stone. You know, that is where they would put their mission statement. And it said, as I paraphrase slightly, but it did say something to the effect of, in order for world resources and the world paradigm to be sustainable, world population must be reduced to and maintained at no greater than 500 million. Now I'm going to repeat what I just said. World population must be reduced to and maintained at no greater than 500 million. Folks, you know there's over 8 billion people on the planet. Huh? And even when these tablets were erected, there was well over 7 billion people on the planet at that time. So that meant in the mind state of these people, if there were 7.5 billion people on the planet at the time these tablets were erected, then in the mind state of these people, 7 billion human beings had to go. Huh? This is not coming from me. I'm just reporting to you what was on the minds of some of the wealthiest, most powerful, and influential people in the world. People who dictate policy, heads of industry, and even heads of state. This is what they communicated to you. This is what they felt bold enough to etch into stone and post publicly for you all to see. Now, what exactly does that mind state mean? If you have those kind of people with those kind of resources, with that kind of reach, with the mind state of eliminating, with the mind state of eliminating 7 billion people off of the planet, and now it will be more than 7 billion, over 8 billion people. Or close to 8 billion people to get to the numbers they want. Human lives that they are more than willing to extinguish or prevent. And I'll tell you what I mean. So, among these globalists, right, you have a good number, a large number of eugenicists, right? If you don't know much about eugenics, you can look at, research it, and you'll see what I term to be a very dastardly and nefarious conceptual view of proposed population control, much of which through sterilization. And if you check, you'll see there have been mass efforts at sterilization, much of which executed on the quote unquote African continent, but not restricted there. Not restricted there. It has happened all around the world, including the United States. All right? Another part of these globalists, or this globalist cabal, or rather, should I say, let's expand and take a conceptual view of how they would attack this problem, the problem of us. So how they would attack us. All right. If you are the most powerful individuals on the planet, the wealthiest, money and resources, no object at all, your reach goes and expands through government influence, right? through political influence, and we all just look no further than the United States. You see how the corporate world has its hand right up in there when it comes to politics, right? Let's just be real and not even debate that. We know that to be. All right? In fact, these days when they hold elections, one of the main first things they start talking about is how much money the candidates are raising. Exactly how do you think they're raising that money? Yeah, they fleece the public and get as much as they can from public donations, but the bulk of the money that ends up in their hands and that influences their policy decisions the most comes from who? Corporate America. All right? So, and perhaps I'm not the most accurate in saying corporate America because many of those corporations are international and their interests are international and global. All right. So these individuals have a means, right, to attack their problem, i.e., us. And just about thank you all for chiming in. I appreciate y'all tremendously. Thank you. So this global cabal, utilizing its reach, has the means and wherewithal to attack their problem, i.e., attacking us, through each and every institution that affects and touches our everyday lives. Huh? Agriculture or food. Do you know what big agriculture has done to the United States in particular? But this venture is not limited there. It's a global venture, but specifically here in the United States. The number of farmers that are near driven to suicide by the nefarious plots used by these huge agri corporations and their terminator seeds, destroying their crops and nefariously, artificially creating cross-pollination so that their patented seeds can end up on the farmer's property, and they sue the farmer for their property and end up taking the farm that may have been in their family for generations. Do you know that's happening? Do you know that's real? Do you know I've interviewed farmers like that? All of this money that the government loves to get on TV and, oh, they're doing this to help out the farmers, they're doing that to help out the farmers. Most of that money, they don't even see it. By the time it goes down the chain, all the different things, it's the little pieces earmarked for here and there and there and here. They don't even see it. Similar to how much of the money that's earmarked for many community improvements doesn't go directly to the community. Did you know it often goes to the police departments? And it's up to them to disseminate that money. Did you know that? Folks, we have got to become both more aware and more active in everything that happens in our everyday lives. The food that we have allowed, I struggle to even call it food, right? What is on the shelves of our grocery stores, what is making its way onto the tables of millions upon millions of Americans, and the numbers only explode exponentially when you take it globally, but specifically right here in America, because our Congress, right, the leaders that we supposedly hold accountable to us, our Congress saw it fit to give amnesty to agricultural giants, right? I don't know if I could say the name specifically or not without making myself liable, but there's a specific corporation, starts with an Monsanto. Right? Starts with an MON. You'll check out the rest for yourself. But they were given amnesty to go ahead and create these biologically engineered ingredients that have become so popular, right? Have you done the free thinking independent research to see exactly what the effect of these biologically engineered ingredients is, particularly after prolonged exposure and consumption? It's not good, folks. It's not good. It's too much for me to even begin to list. And you shouldn't be taking my word for it anyway. Do the free thinking independent research and see what I'm talking about. It's ridiculous. Thank you all for chiming in. Man, this is magnificent. Yes, they are 3D printing the meat. Let me catch in with y'all because y'all know what's going on. True indeed. It's hard to convince people. And this is from Bobby Easy. Okay, family, come on, ride with me. It's hard to convince people that are fine being stuck in the simulation. I understand what you say. You know what it's like? That's an excellent point. You know what it's like? Y'all remember in the Matrix, that one cat that betrayed Neo and them? And they asked, like, why in the hell would you do this? He said, man, I know it's fake. I know it's a Matrix, but I like it. It's comfortable. There's all kind of stuff. He started talking about all the things that he liked in it, that he missed having, right? He didn't care that he was selling out the entire human race. He didn't care about that. He cared that he could have his creature comforts. Huh? He cared that he could still, and folks, how many of us are like that? How many of us would outright just sell out as long as we continue to have things that made us feel comfortable? I ain't gonna start down that road, but good point, bro. Now they 3D printing meat. Yes, they are. Go into the grocery stores. Much of the meat that you see on the shelves isn't even meat. They are literally 3D printing it. Literally. I know, sounds like we're exaggerating. It's not fake, folks. It's real. Cabbage. They got fake cabbage they made. You may have all heard about these, what is it, Driscoll is the company, I believe, berries and so forth. All right, I won't get caught up in the specifics, but the point is they attack us directly through the food. Where else do they attack us? They attack us through our water, through our drinking supply. Already it is more than archaic and more than backwards that we have this system of taking sewer water and cleaning the sewer water to pump back for usage in the communities. Folks, if we put the same effort that we do in trying to clean some damn sewer water into desalinization, expanding and improving desalinization technologies, we could be figuring out ways to take fresh salt water and convert it into usable water for us to drink and use. And the supply would be near limitless. Because guess what? We live on a planet, a watery planet that is nearly 3/4 water. Much of which we haven't bothered to focus our technological prowess on in order to figure out how to use. And don't tell me it can't be done. Look at the advancements that have taken place, which only shows you where we prioritize things. Let me just show you how the cabal coordinates what is made available to you and what isn't, okay? Think about your vehicles. Now you're seeing EVs these days, right? But combustion vehicles have pretty much remained the same. It's a basic propulsion concept for decades. And even these EVs, folks, not to try and burst anybody's bubbles, but often when you go to these charging stations, The charging stations receive their electricity from turbines that are fueled by fossil fuels. Just putting that out there. All right. But these combustion engines have essentially utilized the same concept for decades and decades and decades. Okay, now the advent of cell phones has happened in my lifetime. I've seen cell phones go from these large contraptions that require a backpack to essentially handheld supercomputers. Right? The explosion and the evolution of the technology has not been held back whatsoever. But places that would benefit us, like desalination efforts, have seen no progress. Why? Why would that be? Think about it. Let's go back to how we're being attacked again. We talked about the food. We talked about the water. What about the air we breathe? And first of all, another thing they're doing with the water. Well, no, I'll save that and get back to that in a moment. There's something nefarious that they're also doing to the water that ties into a different form of attack. But let's get to the air. You can do the research for yourself and check the actual air quality where you live at. Check the indexes, right? Check the fluctuation in percentages of pollutants that are being introduced to your air. How about having a common sense view and looking up at the sky and being able to realize, no, folks, what we see in the sky these days in the form of near tic-tac-toe boards in the sky are not just normal contrails from a plane. Folks, contrails from a plane are normal. They've happened for a long time. But those contrails are short in their duration. They might extend tops 2 or 3 football fields, if that. Probably not that long. Most of them, certainly not that long. And they dissipate fairly quickly, as you would imagine, if they're what they're saying they are, essentially vapors from the jets, emissions, and also how it displays in cooling air and ice crystallization and all that. Okay, cool. None of that speaks to something that would last, first of all, that would go across counties, if not states, in unbroken lines, right? And it would stay in your sky the entire day, only spreading from being thin lines into mass cloud-like formations over the course of the hours of the day. Don't take my word for it. Just pay attention, look up at the sky and see what's happening. Those are not just contrails. Those are chemtrails. They are actually emitting things from these planes that are falling down to all of us and everything beneath them. If you don't believe me, check into some of the findings of environmentalist agencies that have studied the emissions from these planes, that have seen and studied what has what has taken place in terms of what has fallen down to cattle and other livestock, right? What has fallen down to so many different crops, down in the fields and streams, and of course onto people themselves, right? The free thinking, independent research is out there if you take a moment and look. So they're attacking us through the food, our air, our water, right? Do you know the brilliant Dr. Delbert Blair, who I always give homage to, right? warned us about something called elf waves. Folks, we're not talking about little elves running around. Elf waves, as in ELF, extra low frequency waves, right? These are wave patterns with a very low, choppy propagation that need to be propagated from a multitude of sources in order to make them widespread. This is why you see so many of these 5G towers up everywhere, and they're still so thirsty for more of them. You hear about them constantly paying tons of money for new designs and techniques on how to erect these 5G towers. Okay, it's because they use ELF waves. They use these extra low frequency propagation waves, or waves that are propagated in these very choppy, low vibrational frequencies. Guess what, folks? The research has been out there on how harmful they are to organic tissue, organic material, i.e., also human beings. I personally interviewed one of the technicians that was erecting one of these towers, and he told me how he was nearly shameful for even working with this company and doing what he's doing, but he's just feeding his family and is actually looking to get out of the industry because he knew for himself and told me how dangerous these waves are. He told me about how when he erected some of them in certain places, if they're pointed at a tree for too long, the bark off the tree on the side where the 5G tower is pointed, where the waves are hitting, actually falls off the tree and that part of the tree dies. Folks, we have to understand that they are serious about eliminating people. The depopulationist group of globalists is real. And unfortunately, their power, their influence, their reach is devastating. And it enables them to enact such and to put into play such dastardly schemes. And they have. And they actually don't even really attempt to hide it. Many people are so suspicious, so apprehensive and so willing to scream conspiracy theory, but you don't even do any effort, put forth any effort whatsoever to find out whether or not the stuff is true. And if you do the actual free-thinking, independent research, it's not even hard to find. They're not even really trying to hide it. Do you know in many of their circles, they laugh at you and call you sheeple, sheep people, because you can be so blind, in their estimation, be so blindly led just like sheep. Do you know that much of the measures that they put out for the public to adhere to during the pandemic, right? Most of those measures were simply control measures for them to test how obedient you would be to authoritarian instruction. And you showed them, you walked in your single file lines, you followed the little arrows, you had the masks on your face, even though, like I was saying back then, it made no sense whatsoever to put that mask on your face. It inhibits your breathing, the percentage of oxygen you're taking in, for one, right? There's no way you can say it doesn't. You're confining your breathing to a short space like this. Not only that, it takes away your ability to expel what you're trying to expel, which might be harmful. Think about it. When you sneeze, don't you want that sneeze to be out of you? Isn't your body trying to expel it out of you? But don't take my word for it, folks. Medical experts later have come on to say, yeah, that was the wrong move to have everybody wear those masks. Not me. There are medical experts all around the world right now saying the advice given by the WHO was a bunch of crap that they can't trust. Don't take my word for it. Do the free thinking, independent research, and you'll see what I'm saying. Especially in the continent of Africa, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. They're paying close attention, and they see exactly the nefarious nature of the so-called help that's being offered to them. Folks, I'm telling you, these people their intent is dark beyond your imagining. How many of you paid attention during the height of the pandemic, right? That there were actual doctors and nurses making videos from inside hospitals, especially up in New York. There were a ton of them making videos from inside the hospital saying, people, come and tend to your loved ones, come and see what's good. They were urging community leaders to get down to the hospitals. They said they are in these hospitals literally killing people. Don't take my word for it. Do the free thinking, independent research for yourself, and you'll see it. This cabal of globalists is serious, and they're panicked. You know why? No, let me slow it down. First of all, what do we know about animalistic instincts, right? What happens when you corner I hate to use this phrase, when you corner a rat, right? It becomes fierce, right? When you corner any animal, they become fierce because you've taken away the option of flight in their flight or fight response system. And all they have left is fight for survival. That's actually the mentality that these folks are in right now. That's why they're stepping up all of these efforts and adding more, because this mass awakening is real. Folks, do you know that the confident, you know how they constantly gauge approval ratings and so forth politically? You know, right now, the confidence level, as they've gauged that, the confidence level in the United States government and other world governments for that matter, but specifically the United States government, is at an extreme all-time low. Never been nowhere near close to this low in terms of confidence in the government. And it should be. The confidence should be low because more and more for a long time now, they've not been a representative government the way they were established to be. Did you know that you are now living actually under a foreign government? Don't take my word for it. Do the free thinking, independent research and look back at the new charter that was established. Look back at what national leaders did when this nation was in the Great Depression. How exactly did the United States get out of the Great Depression? Anybody offer that? Was it just that we just rolled our sleeves up and all of a sudden, it was all good? They took massive loans from the International Banking Consortium, controlled by you know who. Same cabal, right? What were they given? What did they give them in exchange? They didn't have the capital to pay back. What did they give for collateral? Do you know that coincidentally, that's right around the same time that the Social Security numbers were established? Could it be? Could it be that your Social Security number is akin to an actual stock number? That they've insured and have made incumbent upon this country and its policy-making officials, that a system be in place and maintained in place, whereas the gains from the entire lives of every single American with a Social Security number are funneled right back to that cabal and repaying that massive debt. Don't take my word for it. Do a little bit of free thinking, independent research, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Let me jump back in the chat here, my man Bobby. Yup, it's all control and sedation tactics experiments. Absolutely right, brother. Throwing us off our frequency to the universe, to God. They tell us to our face we live in the projects. And what is a project but an experiment? True that, bro. True that. All right. So let's talk just real quick, a little bit more about, and then I'm going to switch to another segment here real quick, about other ways that we're attacked, right? Do we know that they use social engineering as one of their main tools to try and attack us? Do you know that one of the goals, and this, I'm not just talking about, melanated people, commonly referred to as black people. Remember the goal here. Remember the scope of the goal. Because if you're taking out over 7 billion people, close to, let's say 7.5 billion people, you can't just limit it to the melanated or quote unquote black people. You talking about a little bit of everybody. There's a shock. There's a shock to my folks up in some of the, I almost said a neighborhood, but some of the more affluent neighborhoods around my city, around your city. Yeah, when you really think about the scope of the chemtrails, I've worked in some of those places and looked in the sky and seen chemtrails in those neighborhoods just the same as in some of the poor neighborhoods. Do the numbers, folks. Do the numbers. Do the numbers. So they use socially engineering to do something real nice and helpful for all of us. One of their goals is to erode, our family structure and our moral system. Wow, I wonder how they would do something like that. Take a look at what your children are exposed to, what they have to grow up in, and what they see from mass media, from multimedia sources. What do they see in movies, TV shows for that matter? In many instances, children's shows. Right? I'm not here to bash any groups. I don't place judgment on anybody. I don't even got time for that. My focus is in stopping these elites from knocking us all off. I think that's prudent. That's just me. But do you know, toward the ends of establishing their agenda, they do things like taking something that does occur naturally. It's a whole nother podcast for me to get into exactly what it is and why it occurs, but homosexuality, right? What about, the fact that we've since learned that with individuals like Alex Jones, even though my man fell off, that we know the unfortunate crash out journey of that cat, but there's a lot of things that he was saying that turned out to be actual and factual, like atrazine in the water supply. Like the fact that it really has shown in laboratory experiments to change male frogs into female frogs and female frogs into male frogs through hormonal control and manipulation. Manipulating the same way that drug is used to manipulate testosterone and the female hormone, estrogen. Right? Folks, even just the fact that they're doing things like that, even if you don't think it's part of the agenda or part of this larger problem, are you okay with that kind of experiment? Are you okay with them having those kind of additives in the water? All right. There are a myriad of other ways that they attack us through social engineering, efforts to get our attention span as short as possible, efforts to steer us away from critical analytical thinking, right? Efforts to severely decrease our literacy rate. And by the way, for all those, particularly in the melanated, quote unquote, Black community, who will point to how much better we're doing, or even those outside of the community who try to sort of rib us and point to how much better we're doing now as a result of civil rights and all that. First of all, we're not. We're not. Economically, nowhere near close in terms of per capita. Now, do you have more individual millionaires? Yeah, that's happening across the board, but that's actually part of another big setup. But in terms of our financial strength and ability to stave off poverty at the community level, widespread, we are nowhere near the shape that we were in before integration. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, if one of the effects of today's social engineering is dumbing down our literacy rate. And this isn't even limited to melanated or quote unquote Black students. This is across the board in this country. Compared to other children in the rest of the world, our children can barely read. Folks, what are we allowing? But we got all the new latest gadgets and comforts in life. Right? We're extremely sophisticated in the comfort realm. But when it comes down to actual civilization, folks, do we not see these efforts to turn us backward in that area? All right. There is so much that they have kept hidden for years. Part of what we'll be doing on this podcast this season is exposing a whole lot of it. A whole lot of it. Right? As much as we can. And in that way, we will spread awareness. More and more people will become aware of it. And when you are aware of the lies that surround you, it makes only that much clearer and illuminated the truth. Huh? Light becomes your tool. All right. Folks, the more that we learn, the more we know, the more we uncover, the more we are responsible and held responsible to change. How do we change things? Number one, we must spread this awareness. And folks, if that was not the number one step, and if it wasn't as important and as paramount, as vital, as in an emergency level importance, if it wasn't that important, then the world's governments would not be so damn focused on preventing you from learning things, for preventing you from having access to things, right? Free thinking, independent research is a must. We absolutely must have it. We are in a paradigm right now that we are fortunate enough to be actively shifting and changing. We live in a world right now where the world climate itself is in flux, right? So much about our world is transitioning right now. And much of it overall in a good way. right? Much of it. What do we need to see happen from here on out? We need to continue to spread awareness. Because you have to know in order to have an opportunity to affect change. Knowledge is step one. We must increase awareness. And as vehemently as this cabal of socially economic elites attacks our efforts to make more and more inroads in terms of awareness, it's an area that we must continue to grow. And we will. Every single day, you see more and more people waking up. I have personally had interaction and conversation with so many people interested in expanding themselves, expanding their concept of self, and taking advantage of their ability to access free thinking, independent information. We have to spread awareness, right? We have to increase accountability. And we have to take mature, compassionate action to hold our leaders accountable to all of us. When we do that, then we will realistically position ourselves. To obtain roots in foundational principles for a new paradigm, one that exhibits, one that is rooted in the founding principles of peace, love, respect. Folks, we got a long way to go. But if we trust in our Creator and believe in ourselves, we'll get there. If we trust in our Creator and believe in ourselves, there is nothing we can't accomplish. Man, we're a long way to go, but we're on the way now. Huh? I know you're all with me. Thank you. I love you all. Of course, I am your host, Big King Sadiq, hollering at you one more again. For the worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. Please like, share, subscribe, folks. Videos, musical album, books on Amazon, lectures, interviews, everything geared toward growing the worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. I thank you all for helping me to continue to grow this movement. We got a long way to go, but we're on the way now. All right. To conclude the first episode of the third season of Buildin with Big King, I thank you all. I love you all. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. I'm out.